5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Wednesday morning. One of the most heartbreaking things I think you could ever hear about is when a child loses somebody who they loved to death. Somebody dies, and then now a child has to deal with that missing person. And gosh, you never know what to do. You never know what to say. I am so awkward at being with anybody who has lost anybody. I just don't know what to do. You know, I've learned, and yet it's still a hard thing for me. I've learned that being with somebody who has lost somebody is usually a good thing. Even if you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do, you bring a casserole, or you just show up with, it's hard to know what to do. And yet, with that knowledge, it's still difficult. Can you imagine? And I don't want you to ever have to experience this, but some of you have, what it's like to have a child that needs to have a little bit of loving, tender care. Amanda Biggers is on the phone. I believe she's been in the studio with us before. In fact, I thought she was coming into the studio, but she's on the phone. She's a clinical social worker for radio oncology, and she's a spokesperson for, and this is our focal point, Camp I Believe, which is a camp for young people 7 to 17 years old who have had a loss in their immediate family. It's a grieving therapeutic camp, I guess is the best way to describe that. Am I right, Robin?
Yes.
Is that right? Amanda, good to have you on the phone. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry and Robin. It's good to be here.
Where are you right now?
I am actually up at Shands.
Oh, okay. Everything all right?
Everything is all right. I work here during the day, and then I was with Gentiva, who Gentiva Hospice puts on Camp I Believe, and this is their 6th year doing a camp in Ocala. And I had been with them for the past 5 years and then transitioned up here to a new position at Shands. But I love and am so passionate about Camp I Believe that I have stayed with Gentiva to help them with camp and to continue volunteering as a counselor and an advocate for Camp I Believe.
Before we get into the details about what it is and who attends, do you have any contact with any of the kids who've gone to the camp, like maybe a year or two later, and given you feedback about how the camp actually made a difference for them?
We do, and then we also have kids who have come to camp more than 1 year, and we change things up, for those kids, that you can see the growth of the children each year. I also was involved in running camps nationally for Gentiva, so I have been to many camps and have seen kids transition into and out of camp and the camp setting, and it amazes me every time the change that you see in these kids in such a short period of time.
What is it, do you think? Is it the fact that they're camping? Is it the fact that they're with each other? What is it, do you think, that makes this work?
I think it's a combination of things, Larry. The environment, the isolation of, we don't have cell phones, Xbox, computers, all that, TV, the noise that we tend to fill our hours with.
Yeah.
We don't have that at camp. So I think that the environment lends to a more healing time, and then you get to be with, or the kids get to be with, other kids who have experienced the death of a loved one. And so they're not the odd man out anymore. They are all the same in a very important way, and that is that someone that they love very much has died. And oftentimes they're the only child at their school, in their church, wherever, they would consider their normal environment that's had their dad die or a sibling die. And human nature is to want to help those folks, but oftentimes the way that we do it makes them feel like they're standing out, or like we're pointing out their loss, instead of accepting them as just another kid, or just, another human being that has regular human being needs and emotions. So that environment, I think, definitely lends to the camp.
Do the children sometimes go into denial about themselves needing help, and does it take like a school guidance counselor to convince them that maybe they should go?
Yes and no. A lot of parents, I think, make the decision for the kids. We've had kids that want to come back year after year, and we've had to say, okay, usually 3 years is our maximum. But once they get to camp, I think they realize that not only is it a safe place, it's a fun place. We do a lot of fun activities as well as the clinical groups.
And is it wrong to be having that kind of emotional grief for 3 years?
No, not at all. But we want to open up spots and make sure that we can offer camp to folks who haven't had the opportunity to come yet. It is all volunteer driven. So, we want to make sure that the spots and the volunteers that come, that we're able to meet the needs of as many kids as possible.
Grieving is an interesting thing to consider. We were watching the ceremonies from the September 11th attacks, a few days ago, and there were children. Let's see, 13 years ago, if they were 5 or 6, they might have been old enough to remember their parents, and so they were reading the names, and then of course their own father's name or their own mother's name. Let's see, so 13 plus 5, they would be 18, 19, maybe 20 years old now. And you could hear it in their voice. You could hear that they're still grieving, even 13 years later. Yeah. And you know what? I think maybe an event like that kind of refreshes the grief. And not that I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So, sometimes I think it's a good thing to grieve. I think it's part of what we do, right? Elephants do it.
Yeah.
Very true. And I think when you experience a loss, you have to grieve. And if you ignore it, or oftentimes, especially in a family unit, kids and parents alike will try and protect the remaining family members and not necessarily show all aspects of their grief, or try and be strong and put on a strong face for their family. And at camp, because your parents aren't there, you get to sort of take that mask down. And one of our activities that we've done in the past actually is we decorate masks where we say, okay, on the outside I want you to show me what you show everybody else, and then on the inside of the mask show me what you hide and what you're holding in. And it's amazing to see the stark differences, and that the kids understand what a mask is and exactly how they use one in their day-to-day lives.
My outside would look so serious, but my inside would just have a big goofy look on it. That's what I am. I'm goofy. So, how much hands-on are you involved? Do you like camping?
Do I like camping?
Yeah, you.
I love camping if there's indoor plumbing. Does that count?
Yeah, that's called a KOA. That's called a KOA. I like that too. So you're okay with a tent or an RV? What is camping for you?
You
don't like tents.
I am not a tent person. I've camped in a tent, but the last time we were in West Virginia, and it was very cold, and that about did it for me. I think was freezing in the tent. But the kids at camp stay in cabins, so they are all in cabins with heating and air conditioning, and bunk beds. Bathrooms are right there in the cabin, so there's no leaving at night.
In the cabin? Oh,
They're
wow.
right there in the cabin, so it's safer. There's no wildlife that's going to come in.
Oh, man.
And there's, of course, multiple adults in cabins as well with the kids. So they're in very safe and secure, camp-esque.
Does the grief part? Well, let me ask you this way: is the grief part addressed like in like circles? Like you get a circle of kids and you get a couple of adults, maybe around a campfire or something. Does the conversation about the person you're grieving come up like in that circumstance?
It does, and there's a couple things that we do. Everybody's name badge, and they have like a necklace that has their name on it, and their badge identifies a few things. One, their name. Two, there's a bead that matches. We have a color chart of beads that match who the person was that you're at camp for. And then there it shows what small group that you're in, so that all the kids can look around and see, okay, well, these people have the same type of loss, or these folks are in my group. And we do small groups. There's actually 6 small groups over the 2-day period that we do, where you break down into age-appropriate groups, and we really process our stories, our grief, coping skills, what are we going to do now, healthy ways to remember and to grieve. And then in between all of those groups, we have fun activities so that we layer camp the way that kids grieve, which is in spurts. And then we do have a campfire, because what is camp without a campfire and s'mores?
Yeah.
And we do an activity around the campfire as well, with our loved ones, and coming together as a camp community, and honoring our loved ones around the fire.
That is just so incredible what this camp is great for, because I like the idea that you split up the youth in their age-appropriate groups, but then they can interact with the older or the younger children, and that brings healing also.
Yes, exactly. Very much so.
Amanda, we need to take a little break, and we'll be back. We're learning a lot about camp, I believe. It is a retreat for grieving youth between the ages of 7 and 17 who have had a loss in their immediate family, and Amanda will kind of answer some questions that we have, some more questions, and give us a better understanding of what camp, I believe, is all about, and where it is, and how do you get there, and how much it costs, and maybe how we can help, even if we don't have somebody who will be going. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, mostly cloudy with a couple of showers and heavier thunderstorms in the area, high 84 to 88. Mostly cloudy tonight with a shower and thunderstorm around, mainly early, low 69 to 73. A blend of sun and clouds tomorrow with an afternoon thunderstorm in spots, high 86 to 90. And for Friday, a bit cooler with clouds, some sun, and a shower or thunderstorm in the afternoon, high 81 to 85. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Veterans are the foundation upon which our freedom is built. Listen to The Source, WOCA, each Thursday at 9 a.m. to Veterans News with Hank Whittier from Vets Helping Vets. You'll hear tributes, information on veterans issues, and stories that will make you laugh, cry, and feel proud. Veterans News always focuses on the military, past and present, and on our first responders. Veterans News is brought to you each week by Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens and Nursery, keeping you blooming since 1952.
Hi, I'm Yvette, and I'm here to tell you a few things about ABC Frederick's Appliance. They sell not only new, but used guaranteed appliances. When you call ABC Frederick's Appliance, they will provide service on what they sell and any appliances that you own. ABC Frederick's Appliance is located in Bellevue, right over the railroad tracks. Call 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. ABC Frederick's Appliance.
All right, 17 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for waiting through the break. Amanda Biggers is on the phone up in Gainesville and at Shands, I think she said, and you are a radiation oncologist, I guess. Is that right, Amanda?
I'm a social worker in radiation oncology, yes.
Social worker. Oh, so you wow, it's sort of the same thing that you do with a camp, I believe, then, isn't it?
Kind of. Different folks, mostly adults.
Yeah.
And all my patients here have cancer, but it's just a different environment.
Right. Does religion? Well, what are there rules about religion at camp? I believe, or how do you handle that?
Well, that's actually one of the tricky subjects of camp, and generally speaking, we are not a religious camp. There are chaplains, and our bereavement coordinator is at camp, but we do not preach. We meet the kids where they are in all aspects. So if a child has questions about heaven or about what an adult believes at camp, all the volunteers and counselors are trained to bring it back to the child and say, okay, well, what do you believe? What do you think? What makes you say that, etc., so that they can explore what they've been thinking about, because you know that if they're asking the question, they've already been thinking about it, and they already sort of have a guess to their beliefs worked out. And then if it's something that we feel that the parents need to address at home or with their spiritual family, we will tell them during our parent meeting, okay, please explore this with your child. They asked a lot of questions. They're really thinking about this.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Well, that sounds like it's a great policy, actually. You know what? The probably the most important topic to bring up is s'mores. Because
that's right.
I have a theory about s'mores. I don't think s'mores were ever invented by any guy. I think this is a girl thing. How do you figure? Because I've tried. First of all, I don't remember s'mores when I was a young guy. It was like introduced by when girls started becoming a part of my life. All of a sudden there were s'mores. And what do? You take You take a marshmallow, you put it in the fire. Okay, I've done that. You take a candy bar. Hershey bar, and a couple
Chocolate.
graham crackers. And what do you do?
You make a delicious concoction. I see nothing wrong with this, Larry.
No, I'm not. No, I love them. Don't get me wrong. I love girls. Are you kidding? But I think it came from your side of the line.
I'm not going to deny it because they're genius. So anything that's genius probably did.
But they're hard to make. They are awful to make.
There is definitely a very specific skill that comes with timing and patience.
So you're good at it?
Set it on fire. I have a lot of experience at making s'mores. I'm not going to lie. I'm very proud of my s'mores.
I got to find somebody who knows how to do this.
Well, next time you're in the studio, Amanda, we'll set up a pot here, a fire, and make s'mores.
We went to one of the state parks. We had our friend Doug with us, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to make some s'mores? We went to this store, and all the s'mores stuff was together. They knew people would come for these three things.
Well, of course.
So you buy them together, and then, of course, I'm the Mr. Big Shot. I'm trying to make it. Robin, they came out awful, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
See? She agrees.
We'll do some s'mores lessons for you, Larry.
When you do have the volunteers to come help the children, what kind of criteria do you look for in each of the volunteers?
The volunteers have to complete an application, first of all, that sort of gives us a snapshot of their experience with kids, their experience with grief, what they do for their day job, why they want to come to camp, I believe. And we do a full level 2 background screen on every volunteer that comes. A lot of the volunteers, I will say, are Gentiva Hospice employees that give up their weekend to come and help these kids. And then after they have done the application and they do the background check, then we have a 3.5 to 4 hour training that they go through. We actually did one last Saturday, and then have a backup training that's the 4th of October, I believe. And so they'll go through this training where we do education on grief, different types of grief, ways to handle certain things. We go over all the rules of camp, and we talk about, really these kids end up opening up to us and trusting us. I have volunteers do some of the activities that I do with campers so that they understand the level of vulnerability that we really get to.
Do you do all the activities? I was looking at the list. I want you to tell the listeners what those activities are, but do you do all of them?
Do I personally do
that? Yeah.
I stay away from the high ropes, actually. I do all of the clinical activities. If I ever had a camper that really needed me to put on the harness and attempt to climb the wall to show them that it's okay if you can't, I would do that.
Oh, no. And you have a zip line too, right?
But there is a zip line. There is.
Have you done that?
No, because you have to climb the wall to get to the zip line.
Oh, so it's 2 activities in one.
There's a telephone pole. It's a whole high ropes course, and I will tell you that the staff at the YMCA Camp McConnell are phenomenal, and they help lead these kids and encourage them and get them up the wall and up the pole and down the zip line, as well as they do communicating group activities for the low ropes course. Where the kids learn to communicate, problem solve, work together, and then we all process it and what we've learned as a big group. And so that is amazing to watch and to witness. I do enjoy the archery and the riflery.
Really?
There you go.
I enjoy those things.
Dangerous woman.
Right. And the swimming is always, of course, fun. Can't be a Florida girl and not swim. So
that's safe. Speaking of the Florida part of this, I mean, the fact that you have it in October and you can still go swimming, that's typical Florida, right?
It is. And I will say that there is always a part of me that hopes it's cool enough that we can't go swimming, because that means that we're having an actual fall.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
But
where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm actually from Ocala.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. And you work in Gainesville. See, my son does the same thing. He lives here, drives there.
See? There you go. It's a good plan.
So your camp is at Camp McConnell in Micanopy, and it's October 18th and 19th?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am, it is. And you do not have to live in Ocala to come to camp. Mm-hmm. I have kids that have come up from Miami, from Fort Myers, I've had kids come from South Georgia before to come to camp. As long as you can get here, we will accept you. We do review all camper applications to make sure that there is no suicidal or homicidal ideation, or anything that where we would put the campers or the camper or the other campers at risk.
Wow.
But,
yeah.
And there's no charge for this for the participants.
There is no charge. It is completely free. And then if there is ever a child who doesn't have, say, a sleeping bag or, toiletries, that type of thing, we will provide those for them to use for the weekend as well.
So the listeners probably need information so they can look up more and share it with people who might benefit from this. Do you have, let's start with a website, I guess?
Sure. There is an application for camp, I believe, at the Gentiva website, and it's www.gentiva.com/hospice.
Okay.
And we're under the Gentiva Hospice Foundation. And if they ever have any questions, or if it's easier, if folks don't have access to a computer, they can always call the office, and that's 352-622-9331. They can ask for Ed Button. He's the bereavement coordinator there, or they can ask for myself, Amanda, and they will get a message to me, and I can call them back.
Okay. The website again is gentiva.com/hospice, right?
Yes, sir.
I went there and I don't see the camp
There
here.
is, and what I will do, you have to go to, there's a the Hospice Foundation.
Okay. By the way, do you need any music? Because Rob and I play music. We can. Do you need it? That was a silly thing, wasn't it? But on a serious note, do you need money? I mean, do you need us to? Can we help in some way?
Because the camp is free and our foundation does pay for it, we take donations in kind, where things that we can always use are like water bottles or...
Oh, okay. So you don't want money?
Well, in Marion County, we can't take cash money, just legally with some of the agreements that have that are in place with other companies.
Okay.
But we can definitely take anything in kind.
Sleeping bags? Let's see, what else would you need for camping?
Toiletry items, shampoo,
Toiletry
soap,
items.
and stuff.
Or if we do like little bags that we give to each camper at the end of camp. So anything that can go in there, like stuffed animals or journals, that type of thing, because we do teach kids in our small groups how to journal and what that looks like.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
By the way, I just found it. I found bereavement camps. There's a lot of bereavement camps.
There are, yes, sir.
Oh, wow.
And you would click on the one for October, the YMCA Camp McConnell, and that will give you the application. And yes, our Gentiva does camps nationally, and they're always expanding as well. I was lucky enough to also be at the camp in Mississippi this year. I volunteered and ran a group up there in Oxford, Mississippi. Lovely town if you ever get a chance to go.
What was Mississippi's maiden name? Do you know?
You are really...
I think it was Missouri. Missouri.
Oh,
I don't know.
so funny.
You are really amazing, Amanda. I mean, gosh, to give all of your time this way so unselfishly, and you've got the best personality for it, because children will warm up to you because you're so welcoming in the way you speak.
Oh, thank you. I will tell you that every time that, and any volunteer can tell you this, you get more out of camp than you feel like you're giving.
I bet that's absolutely true. It's really wonderful what you do. The other day on Sunday, I went to a picnic / luau for the Children's Craniofacial Association, and I met children and parents where the child has some kind of a craniofacial disfigurement that they're working through and learning to live with and acceptance.
Right.
And you know what? When good people get together to do really good things for other people, I mean, it's always a good thing. Always.
It is.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's so many bad people in the news that you think the world is like that, but the truth is the world is more like Amanda.
Exactly. Amanda's
I mean,
wonderful.
you are the real world. These other nuts are just making the news. That's all.
Yeah.
Actually, I try and stay out of the news, Larry.
Well, you made it to our news, Amanda.
Yes.
This is newsworthy for anybody who missed this or wants to share this. This interview will be it's a video actually, but Amanda's not here, so you won't see her. You'll see Robin on the camera, but.
Yeah, but listen for Amanda.
Just you can
She's
listen
great.
to Amanda. And you can go to the website, of course, as well. Amanda, thank you so much for being on the air with us today. I wish you were in the studio, but I understand you couldn't be.
Yeah, so next time. We'll work on that for next year.
All right. And thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. All right, we'll be right back.
Strategy against Islamic State militants, the focus of a high-level meeting in Tampa, Florida today.
Not only will President Obama meet with U.S. commanders here, but also senior representatives from countries in the region where the U.S. is taking on ISIS, part of that broad coalition still coming together.